One of the biggest challenges was simulating the lava. Not only did it need to react to its environment, but also it had to battle against this giant ice wall. We did the animation of the ice wall first, because we wanted to give the ice wall some character. So instead of trying to simulate something, it was animated by hand, and then we used that, turned that into volumes, and had the sort of lava interacting with the ice wall. The first step was to export all the detailed geometry from 3ds Max to Houdini, which we use Alembic for. Then in Houdini, we take some of these this complex geometry and turn it into a volume, which we can use as a simple way of simulating collisions with the fluid. Also, another thing we can do with that volume is convert it back to like a nice clean, low poly mesh that we can use for the rigid body simulations. In the first few simulations that we run, the ice wall and all the characters were completely wiped out. In fact, the entire environment just filled up. Because it's a simulation, it follows a set of rules, whereas really you want to be able to direct it and have it, have its own character. So we had to build extra tools to sort of control the path of the lava and the flow and the sort of speed it cooled down. What we did, we created like zones. See, the red zones are cooling the lava quicker. So every frame, which is like 30 frames a second, it gets cooled down by sort of 5 degrees. The yellow zone is being heated up by 5 degrees, and the purple zone there's no cooling. So it keeps its state. Also, to give it more control, we used velocity fields. When the lava came into contact with the velocity field, it had actually more velocity in a direction to the lava, so you could push it in a certain direction. So in the shader, we used sort of 3 attributes. The first one was the temperature. So as it was hot, it would be hot and yellow, and as it cooled down, it would be dark and matte. And on top of that, we used the velocity. So as the lava flowed quicker, it would heat up a bit as it sort of reacts to the air. And on top of that, we used vorticity. So as the lava sort of twirled and swirled around and impacted objects, it created nice little hot spots. The combination of them would like drive some of the attributes in the shader. There's lots of rigid body simulations. We used a bullet solver to simulate those, it's used a lot in the games industry, so it's really fast, and it lets you run off lots of simulations and make lots of little tweaks. A lot of the problems you get with rare fractures is that every sort of piece is the same sort of size. So what you really want, you want a few bigger pieces and then lots of smaller debris around that. Yeah, you want some sort of artistic control over it, so you sort of pre-fracture your geometry, decide which bits you want to break apart, try and get a good ratio between sort of the larger pieces and the smaller pieces, because it creates more of a natural effect.
Yeah, I mean, lighting itself wasn't too bad. There was a lot of reuse once the environment had been established. It was just the scale of the job. It was 4 minutes worth of content, which is sort of twice as much we've ever done before. So managing all those shots, all the various light angles, and making sure that there's a consistency and that things don't stray was probably the trickiest part. But we came up with a tool to manage all that. It's based on, so Max has state passes. In of themselves, the idea is fine, but the practicality with very large data sets is that they become quite unreliable. So we wrote a front end for it that pulls in all our shot data, cache paths, frame ranges, and creates a dynamic link and then spawns that to the scene. So within one scene, you can load up any shot, pulls in all the animation, puts the lighting where it needs to be, sets the frame ranges, sets the output paths. It's all controlled dynamically without the artist having to go in and do it all manually. So if there's a change to, say, an animation file, it's updated. You haven't got to go and redo it. And when you've got, I mean, it sounds small, but when you've got 80 shots to get through, just changing the render output paths and loading it can take quite a long time. So I can literally just dish out a set of angles. So we can say we've got a preferred angle range, and then the individual shot artist can kind of, okay, I need to move it a bit, but they know where they can and can't go. And once it's set for the shot. I enjoyed the look development process. which is early stages defining how things look. So I was responsible for Bologna's look development, building all the shaders, creating all the additional maps, and just finding her character. Well, we just made sure that the character was fully built from the ground up with UDIMs. All it does is, it's just a UV layout grid that allows you to pull in multiple maps through one variable. The modelling team supplied a grey base to start with. I'll then start building some shaders for, okay, what's a metal, a cloth, a plastic, a skin, and then you go into Mari and start working up all the detailed maps, grime, dirt, gloss, and then that comes into lighting. And lighting and shaders, there's a synergy there. You tend not to just do one or the other. If you can do them both together, you have the most control to get the best result.